Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Game Logic from the Rounding Off Infinity Gaming channel on YouTube, one of the co-hosts of the Enough to Keep Going weekly video games podcast on the E2KG Network podcast channel on YouTube. Back with another episode. This is episode number 409 for the 26th of October, 2025. Here with me, as always, I have my stalwart partner in crime, Mr. Tao Master 99. How you doing, Tao?
Doing well, thank you. Nice to be here.
Very cool, very cool. So, week packed full of stuff. I won't necessarily say packed full of news, but packed full of stuff. We're going to try and cover most of that, as well as talk about the games that we have been playing. So without much further ado, let's get to it. Starting off with segment one, our gamer experience report outs for the week as far as major titles that we've been playing. One of the things I've been playing is Major League Baseball MLB The Show 25 on both the Xbox Series X as well as the Nintendo Switch 2. I think I have 3 copies of this year. I think I have a PlayStation 5 version too. I started off the season wanting to, it had been kind of on my backlog list because I actually didn't return to consoles until after MLB The Show had come out for this year. And so I kind of, needed some titles for my Xbox Series X. And so I picked this up. Strangely enough, I was, filling out my playlist, my play log for the week, and I checked the Nintendo eShop on a whim, and MLB The Show 25 was on sale there for like $15. So, and I believe that deal is good until the 1st of November. So, it's an interesting dynamic this year as I have, seasons going on in different sports on different platforms, some of which are the same title release for this year. So in MLB, I think I'm playing the Pirates on my Xbox. Actually, I can't remember what I'm playing where. Like I said, I think I have this on PlayStation 5 too. So I think on one system I'm playing the Pirates, on another system I'm playing the Phillies, and on the Nintendo Switch 2 I'm playing the Tampa Bay Rays. And so I've gotten to the point where historically I had always kind of played teams. Hey, Hero Down Under, thanks a lot for coming through the chat. We appreciate you. I had always kind of historically played teams that were in or near towns that I had previously lived in, just to kind of, have that kind of background nostalgia going in my head. Now I've been playing these games in so many seasons for so long that now I'm just kind of randomizing and picking up my team wherever. And Hero in the chat is asking, just 2 of us today. Yes, DBQ, I think he has visiting family, so who have not left yet, so he was not able to join in the show tonight. But I'm obviously having fun with MLB The Show, as I do every year. Tao, you also played on the Nintendo Switch 2, and one of the things that I wanted to ask you is what struck me immediately in that game is that, as you mentioned, batting seems to be more difficult on the Nintendo Switch 2, and I feel like the well, I don't know what I want to call it. It's not the horizontal like bat box. It's the front. It's like the longitudinal, the latitudinal pitch box. It's that space where the pitch is coming at you, within which, if you see like the swing box in the lower left hand corner after you bat, like it always comes up and shows like what your timing was for the person who last batted, and it tells you, early, way early, just early, way early or way late, just late, are good. That green space, like in real time in batting, is very stingy. Is like incredibly stingy, and so that's one thing that makes it tougher. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, again, playing these games on Xbox, the same title on both Xbox and PlayStation, is very, very clear to me that the pace of the game is faster on the Nintendo Switch 2. It's almost like it's been tuned with an expectation that people are playing in this in handheld mode, and that like it's, they want you. So like the batter walk-ups, it feels like there's fewer replays that happen. The post home run celebrations, And especially where it really feels palpable and tangible is, and I don't know how long people have been watching baseball. Fortunately or unfortunately, most of what I know about baseball tends to come from MLB The Show. But I guess because of network television stuff and the game not feeling exciting, a few years ago they instituted a basically like the equivalent of like an NFL football like play clock, and so the pitcher has a limited amount of time to throw a pitch. They can't just stand up there forever. So that wait time till that 5-second clock comes on screen and starts. And I could be wrong. I feel like on the Nintendo Switch 2 version, it's like a 5-second clock, but I feel like on PS5 and Xbox, it's like an 8-second clock. Cause it's like as soon as it comes up, like you better be throwing the pitch, So I wanted to ask you, did you feel like you felt that difference? And I don't remember if you've played on Xbox or like, I'm pretty sure you had played it on Xbox at least during the years when it was in Game Pass, right?
Yeah, before this year, before they stopped Game Pass. Yeah, I've been playing on Xbox, and I'm playing 23 right now, so a couple versions behind. Just the first question. Yeah, I have trouble. I'm usually I'd say like 80% of the time early on my swings, even though it looks like it's like right on me. It's like it says it's early. I'm like, how's that possible? And then of course, if I let it go further, then I'm late. So and then obviously it's simulation, so they're trying to get you, to get that perfect bet. But I mean, like still, it's like, dude, like sometimes it looks like it's like right on the plate, and like I'm still early, so it's just really weird. I don't know if you have that same issue, or if you're always late. I don't know which one it kind of goes for you, the majority of the time.
In on the Xbox and on the PlayStation, the way I've historically felt, like you could make the adjustment. Like if you're up against a pitcher and you feel like you're late, like you can kind of count microseconds in your head like really quickly and adjust to swinging earlier. Of course, the risk with that is that, of course, then they're going to flip and, get you with an off-speed pitch, right? But you can typically kind of make that adjustment and sometimes catch a pitcher out, right, and hit a homer off of them. But like I said, on the Nintendo Switch 2 version, I feel like you try and make that adjustment, and it's like that microsecond, that little drum beat in your head on Xbox and PS5 makes the difference. But then, like as you said, like the same kind of weight one that you put in your head on the larger consoles, like the balls are then like in the pitcher's mitt right by the time you swing, so or in the catcher's mitt. So yeah, like I said, it's that the timing is very stingy on pitching, on hitting, right, on hitting the pitch back. But then, like I said, yeah, then you add on to that all the other stuff, like just feels. I mean, and in some ways that's kind of cool because a game of MLB The Show can go on quite some time, arguably like longer than some of the other sports games. So it's kind of nice that they've tightened it up. I mean, in addition to that, in years past, I still insist on using the classical designated hitters rule. Like I just feel like I feel dirty. Like if I just use designated hitters all the time, I'm like, no, it's supposed to be, designated hitters in I think in the American League, and then no designated hitters in the National League. But what I have capitulated to is putting that runner at second base when you go to extra innings. I used to be a curmudgeon and fight that, and now I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. Like we gotta, it's 160 something games or whatever in an MLB season, so we need to get through that. But yeah, I mean, obviously on Nintendo Switch 2, obviously it's a graphical downgrade if you're playing in docked mode, but that doesn't make any difference, right? In how that doesn't make any difference. The game does feel different, but it's not because of that. It's not because of the graphical difference. And in handheld, I haven't played in handheld mode. I played in docked, but I'm sure it makes no material difference. And so it's awesome that people get a chance to play that on Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, I mean, I played both, mostly handheld though. But I didn't, even when I've played docked, I didn't really see too much of a difference as far as batting and stuff. So, and even pitching. Um, I had a thought and I forgot it. But just to get to the other question, um, I kind of I kind of skip all the things in the middle, so I'm not too sure about that as far as like the pacing because I always just skip everything anyways. Other than some of the replays, sometimes I'll if I have a good play or even if one of my teammates have a good play, I'll kind of let it run. But for the most part, yeah, I'm just kind of skipping the in between stuff, so I can't really speak to that too much. Yeah, I mean,
Well, I think I mean I'm not saying that you don't, but like because yeah, some of it is like pageantry, right? But some of it is like the inning starts and it's the amount of time you have to think, right, about like am I just doing a timed batting swing? Am I doing a positional batting swing and like spotting the bat somewhere in the grid, or am I going to guess the pitch? Because typically I only do one of those three things. I also, for instance, drink coffee right while I'm playing video games. So I mean, it's like you know, it's just that simple thing of like, okay, when you're like, I do like playing the Nintendo Switch 2 version, there was no time for me to take a sip of coffee while I was coming up to bat, while that inning was starting, or while I was batting, right? I had to wait until I pitched because, again, I could tell that difference in speed. Whereas on PS5 and Xbox, I have a chance to take, as the inning transitions and I'm coming up to bat, I have time to take a sip of coffee. But like, I don't like it moves, so quickly, which is fine. But it just really stood out and struck me, that difference in pace.
do you so what do you play the same position on all three consoles or do you try to do like different things? Like right now, I think I'm doing I do like relief pitching and then like I think left field right now on my Switch gameplay, and I think I pretty much did that before too. I would kind of do that the double duty. I wouldn't do full pitching, but I still want to kind of do pitching. So I was doing like the relief pitching or game ending pitching.
No, when I play in when I play, I play the full game. So I am the pitcher all the time. And then obviously I bat. So I don't do like the situational thing. Um, uh, so this year though, I've started doing two things. Number one, if I get pressed for time in a game, um, I will just go ahead and simulate to the end, which I don't do that frequently, but like I've learned I need to stop being up till 2 a.m. in the morning playing video games. So sometimes, like when it gets late, I'll just go ahead and like simulate like the last 3 innings or something. And I will sit and like when I'll usually play like 2 games and then I'll like simulate like 10, 5 to 10 or something like that. But position wise, on the diamond, I play the pitcher, all the time. And then obviously I switch out, depending on where the ball goes, right, to take over that fielder. But yeah.
And then just go back to the batting real quick. I did try to change like because you can change like how you bat. Like you can change it to just you're just going to time it. And, like there's no like little box that you can actually move, which I think is like the old way, like old baseball games where you're just going to hit it as the ball comes in. It still seemed like I was like I couldn't get the timing right, so I just went back to the normal way with the little batting reticle that you can move around. So I don't know. I think sometimes too, depending on what controller I'm using, especially if I'm docked. Like that kind of changes like how fast I can move it. Like I'll move it faster with some of my controller, like the kind of the off-brand controllers, like the Power A controllers that I have, compared to like the Pro or even just the Joy-Cons, where it's a little more resistant. So I'm not flicking down or up or whatever which way I got to go so easily. So that can be part of it too, I suppose.
Very cool. Very cool. You have been playing an even newer game, the most recent release, that has apparently very popular and has been selling well. In fact, faster than its predecessors. Why don't you talk to us about how the newest Pokemon has been going?
Yeah, so I had mentioned this a little bit last week. We were kind of stretched for time or compressed for time, so I kind of left it for this week. Yeah, I've been playing Pokemon Legends Z through A, Z-A, however you want to say it. So it's the newest Pokemon. You can play it on both the original Switch and Switch 2. I'm playing on Switch 2, obviously. But yeah, I'm having a ton of fun with this one. This one takes place in which was the old Pokemon XY, I believe, game kind of game area where it was the Luminos City, or that's where you're kind of playing it now. I don't know if that was the only area you could play in the original. I don't think so. You could probably move around a little bit more, but you're pretty much all in this. You are all in the city this time around. And the big thing, I think, with this one is the battle system is a little different now. And I think I might have mentioned this a little bit last week, but kind of more of like you have all your moves out at this, at once, and there's cooldowns from, so you can just as soon as you use one, there's like I think it's like 3 to even like 12 seconds. I've seen as much as time you have to wait before that move is available again. Kind of like Diablo-esque, kind of gameplay, or other kind of maybe MMOs where you have your moves and there's just a cooldown for each one of them. Still only have 4 moves that you can use, so you can still kind of play around with that kind of gameplay. If you just want attacks, or if you want some stuff that's like a status hit to your enemies, like paralyze or sleep or stuff like that. So some of them work a little bit different than in the past. Like sleep in the past, it would actually and even paralyzed too, kind of like you'd skip a turn because it was turn-based at that point. With this one, it basically more slows you down, and it kind of delays, like when that opponent can take their turn, or take their use their move or stuff like that. So you still be able to do the move. It just takes a little bit longer for you to actually do it. So it's a little tweaked gameplays like that. So you run around the city. There's Pokemon like throughout the city, but there's these designated areas all around the city that actually have like the wild Pokemon, or the majority is you're going to capture them, and in those zones, as they call them. So it's a little, I guess, a little bit more restricting from the past few games, because they were kind of more open world. Legends Arceus and Violet and Scarlet, which was the last one, where it was just like a huge open world game. You just had Pokemon everywhere, so it's a little bit more restricted. But I've still been having a ton of fun with this game. The ZA is basically ranked as a rank system they have within the game. So you start from Z and you want to go all the way up to A. Now, there's a certain points within the story where you kind of skip ranks just because things happen. So I'm not going to avoid it. But so you're not going to go, through all letters of the alphabet, because that'd probably take, forever. And I think I'm glad they kind of did that, because I was kind of wondering that at one point too. I was like, man, are they going to go make me do like each rank, go through all this, because that's going to take forever. But then like I said, there's a point where you kind of skip a couple times. So far, we'll see if they do that again. But yeah, it's kind of shortened the gameplay a little, the campaign part of it, I guess, a little bit. But then there is a online aspect of it where you can, battle other people online, which is, once again, it's a little different, because you have this 4-player maximum that you can battle all at once. So everybody's kind of running around this little arena area, just like within the city. And once again, you kind of have to kind of strategize, like how you want to, go against, this, maybe somebody has like a water type, or grass type and stuff. So you got to think about, hey, this is going to beat that person, this Pokemon's going to beat that person, but it won't beat this other guy. So I've seen a lot of people just kind of sitting back and letting other people like battle until, like, they get their energy down to like a little bit, and then they'll come in, swoop in and and just knock those people out, kind of at the end. So
are you saying people are third partying people in Pokemon?
Yeah, they're sniping them. Yeah. Kind of like a battle royal too, yeah. So that's kind of funny. But yeah, it's a different strategy, because it's not just one-on-one like it used to be. Yeah, they might have had 2-on-2 battles maybe in the past. I'm not sure. I don't think I rarely played the old online ones, at least not competitive. Like I did like the co-op stuff, which there's no co-op. They had like the co-op raids you can do in the old one, but as far as I can tell, there's none right now in this one. So, which is kind of a bummer, but the competitive one is actually kind of fun, just because you have so many people kind of battling it out. So, but yeah, it's a pretty fun game. Like, and then besides the main campaign, you'll have like side stories and stuff you can do throughout the map too. You see like a little exclamation mark, and you can go over to them, and it might be something like, hey, this Pokemon needs medicine because of something, sick. So you have to go and get the medicine and come back, or you have to battle somebody, or there's a few different kind of different variations on the side missions. So I think it's enough that you can, it gives you a little bit of variety. So it's not just like the same thing over and over. You say something?
So I am not a big Pokemon person, But the one thing that I've heated on, from the last generation iterations is how's the performance, right? Because that was the big to do about the last iteration on the original Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, so I bought it, like I said, I bought it on the Nintendo Switch version. So there's two different versions. You can buy, the one version. But I haven't played it on that. I haven't even turned on my old Switch in a while. So, but from what I've seen, it's still pretty bad, like on the original Switch. At least compared to it, like it's not terrible. Like I've seen the video comparisons, and the graphics are kind of muddy and kind of blurry on some textures. And there's like they showed a couple areas where the guy's like kind of just moving around a little bit, and there's like just one building in the middle where the textures haven't like loaded in yet, so it's kind of just like that muddy kind of look. And then all of a sudden it pops in, so it does kind of load, but it's but as far as on the two. It's been pretty good. I haven't had any issues. The only weird thing is like there is some popping with like the NPCs, and if they happen to have a Pokemon like with them, where it's not far away, but you're actually close up to them, and if depending on how you're turning and looking, like it's almost that like out of kind of side view. Like all of a sudden they'll kind of blink out, but then as soon as you move, they pop back in. So that's kind of weird. But generally, like. And the weird thing is that when that happens, like I could see people in Pokemon like moving around normally, like they're not, laggy or anything in the background. So the background's fine, and maybe this foreground, like really close, is fine. But the kind of sound that middle area where it's kind of that weird popping. So it's just some weird graphical thing, I guess, or bug. I mean, other than that, though, it's been running fine. It's been running great. Looks good. I know some people are like, oh, it should look better because it's on, Nintendo Switch and blah blah blah. But I'm assuming they're just going for that cartoony look, that's what it is. It's like you're playing the actual cartoon, the cartoons that I've had over the years. So I haven't had too much of a problem with it. But yeah, so pretty much like I said, other than that kind of weird middle ground popping, I haven't really seen any other performance issues. As far as like lag, even online, it's been fairly smooth, which is, kind of surprising for Nintendo because sometimes it's not the best, their netcode and stuff like that. But I think there was couple times though, was it early on? I think it was within that first week. I did have a couple crashes, but I haven't had any since then. Just the whole game would just crash to the, you get the, there's an error or something. Software had to close, kind of error that you get. So, but since that first week, I haven't had any issues since then. So, but I haven't seen any updates that I remember. I don't think there's been any updates yet either. So. Might have just been something with the system, possibly. So, but yeah, it's been pretty smooth so far. I'm really enjoying it. That's pretty much all I've been playing lately. These past couple weeks is the Pokemon Legends. So, it's been a good time.
All right, man. Very cool. If you don't have anything else on that, we can go ahead and go on to segment 2.
Yep.
All right. So going on to segment 2, our main news headlines that we want to run down. And Tao, you are up first with a news story on another game that you've been playing, Ball Pit.
Ball Pit, that's right. You don't pronounce the X. This is from GameSpot, which I played a little bit of this game. I didn't put it on the rundown, but just because I didn't have a whole lot of time with it. But I have been playing just a small amount of it so far. Like I said, Pokemon has been taking over, but and this is from Evan Campbell. Ball Pit is rolling with 400,000 copies sold in the first week. The first week for Ball Pit was pretty good, according to Devolver Digital and developer Kenny Sun. They wrote out statistics of the action roguelike game and revealed it's sold over 400,000 copies so far. Keep in mind, this is available on Xbox Game Pass too, a subscription service that doesn't account for traditional sales. So probably that 400,000 is not in there, I'm assuming. On X, the official Ball Pit account shared the first week numbers, other notable highlights for the game, which launched October 15th, including 34,500 peak concurrent players. And I'm assuming that's on Steam. Becoming the number 4 top rated title on Steam Deck and surpassing 1.3 million hours of viewership on Twitch. Ball Pit has compared, and then they kind of have some other statistics here that they don't mention. 1.43 million hours on Twitch, 4.6 million views on VODs, 1,400 people use Twitch integration, and then number 4 obviously on Steam Deck, and then over 400,000 reviews, 95% overwhelmingly positive reviews. I'm assuming that's on Steam, but because that's kind of their thing. Ballpet has drawn comparison to Vampire Survivors, Loop Hero, and Balatro, fast-paced brick breaker games. Sees player infusing 60 plus balls to defeat foes. In addition, when not blasting baddies, Ballpit is about reconstructing Balbalon, with more than 70 building units. Doing so leads to new power-ups as well as characters to utilize, which I think I just unlocked actually this last playthrough that I had, which I did finish the actual round. So that was actually kind of nice because I hadn't finished any rounds the few times I had played before that. Power-ups as well as characters to utilize. So I got that one extra character. There's actually a good amount of characters on that character select screen. You usually select your character right before you start your game there. Currently available on PS5, PC, Xbox Series, XS, and Switch. And then there will be an official, I guess, Switch 2 version, which I'm playing on Switch 2. It's been playing fine. That said, Ballpit is playable right now on Switch 2 thanks to the backwards compatibility. Last but not least, if you're curious to pronounce the game's name, apparently you ignore the X, which we have been doing, which I didn't do last week. So, yeah, it's a like I said last week, it's a pretty interesting game. Just kind of the weird kind of brick breaker roguelite slash kind of like town city builder thing on that the game is. But yeah, I've been enjoying it so far.
Yeah, the whole thing is a very unique premise, and the thing that I want to mention that kind of jumps out to me is we've talked on the show a few times about this notion of a streamable game, and how that has kind of become an outlet for you to be successful. Sometimes I don't want to say that it's not good, but sometimes well, I've said it before, so I'll just be direct. Like, streamers play bad games, right? Not necessarily bad games, but just games that aren't games that would not be hitting a mark if it weren't for the fact that they were streamable games, right? Like, they play a lot of games that are very kind of average, but they make for interesting entertainment, right, when other people join in, right? And so so it's kind of like it's kind of like Jack Party, right? Like Jack Party games probably wouldn't be that interesting except for the fact that lots of people watch them, right, and people join in on kind of the fun and the banter. So they kind of have this moment where they infuse a point of conversation, and that's great. And so it's nice to see that games like this can find a place to sit in the market, in particular when a lot of the metrics that are pointed out are Steam metrics, and we know lots of things about the dynamic on Steam. 19,000 plus games published per year. Only the top 8% even break $100,000. Things like that. So it's nice to see that because this is a streamable game, right, that there's yet an additional market dynamic and moment for a game to kind of thrive on and find some space in the market, whereas otherwise, right, it might just go unnoticed.
Yeah, and I believe I was trying to look it up right now. I believe this is a $20 game. Oh, $15 game, yeah. So, fairly, reasonable price for what you're getting. And I will argue that people do purposely play a bad game sometimes on Twitch, just to do that, Mr. Science Theater kind of thing, to goof on it a little.
Yeah, and I mean, and I'm trying to and I'm not putting these games, and this, by the way, this is also not a game that I'm putting in that category. What I'm saying is that there are games, particularly a lot of the asymmetric combat games, right, which have just a limited appeal. Those games thrive as live streaming content because people love to watch them, right? Even though they may not find a lot of traction in the market because they're the people who gravitate to that are very small in number. But yeah, no, it's just a nice to have another dynamic right in the market for people to help games out.
So that one the one stat here, the Twitch integration, is that where you can actually you like do something within the game, like the viewer can actually say, hey, I'm gonna have this guy just use this kind of ball or whatever for this game, in particular, but just for any game, like when they have that integration. Is that what they're talking about?
Yeah, there's some and like you said, it's different based on implementation for each game, but it's some type of way where there's some type of audience participation in the gameplay. So I don't know if maybe in this one, like the audience can trigger an event right to happen, or can select what types of obstacles or what types of walls you're presented, or what. But yeah.
Cool.
Okay, going on to our next news story. Halo campaign evolved doesn't feature PvP multiplayer. Here's why the developer chose to focus on co-op. Halo campaign evolved. This news story over on Windows Central by Samuel Talbert. While Halo Studios is rebuilding and expanding the story of Master Chief on Installation 04, as the name suggests, Halo Campaign Evolved does not feature any player versus player multiplayer. In a group interview at Halo Studios, I asked the developers why the team decided to only focus on campaign for this remake. They responded by explaining the studio wants something that stands next to the original game, expanding the co-op functionality and making this one thing as good as it can be. So obviously the backstory to this, if in case you're a gamer who has been living under a rock, or was locked in somebody's basement on Friday, this was the announcement that came out of the Halo World Championships, is that the new Halo title that has been rumored that Phil Spencer has mentioned, is coming next year. That Halo Studios, the rebranded name for 343 Industry Studios, has been working on, is a remake of Halo Campaign Evolved in the Unreal 5 engine. And in particular, when it was made, when it was announced, for some reason, which to me seems weird, a lot of people were asking why there's no multiplayer, to which I immediately responded, because it's Halo Combat Evolved and there was no multiplayer in the first Halo. Multiplayer came in Halo 2. So it wasn't strange to me at all. The other thing that I thought might be part of the reasoning is that Halo Infinite wound up punting on co-op, or it came in like very, very, very late, because of, as far as I understood it, there, maybe some of this was rumor and speculation because of problems they were having getting co-op to work on the Series S. But what they didn't do is they didn't then expand on that. The original thought and intention was always that Halo Infinite was going to become like a world, and there would be new content drops, and it would kind of look like the original Destiny 2 model, where you would have these periodic like campaigns that would be dropped, and that you would also be able to play those in co-op. But this is getting 4-player as much as you're getting split screen co-op, but you're also getting 4-player co-op, which I think is super exciting for people who want to play this game. So the lack of multiplayer didn't stand out to me at all. Did it stand out to you, Tal?
No, yeah, I mean, that's what I thought too. I was like, I don't even think the first one even had it. So like maybe LAN play or something at the beginning, but I don't think there was any like huge competitive multiplayer that you could do. So yeah, I mean, it was it made sense. So it wasn't a big deal. And I watched a little bit of trailer. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I mean, it looks Unreal Engine 5 looks really nice. So not sure I'll pick it up right away, maybe eventually, but it's nice that they do have the 4-player co-op, which is nice.
Yeah, and that's my feeling on it too. It sounded to me, I don't want to put words in your mouth, that you might be a little lukewarm on the concept. I know I am. And that's not a knock on Halo. It's just there's a few things, right? It's number one, I played a bunch of the Halo titles in the Halo MCC in the lead up to Halo Infinite. So I'm like, I don't need to go back and play. I had played it on PC when they first delivered it with the MCC, and then I played it again in the walk up to Halo Infinite, and I'm just like, I don't need to like replay that story again. I mean, we're talking about a 6.5 to 8.5 hour story. It's not like I've forgotten it. So it'll be neat, right, to play it in Unreal Engine with like revised graphics, but But first of all, if I play this game, I'm at the point now where I only play shooters on PC. And then it's just a matter of, is it an exciting enough shooter to warrant me taking a look at it? I'm not in Game Pass, so like the question is how much is this going to be sold for? Because I don't feel like this is a $70 game late in 2026, given how short the campaign is. Because now in 2026, right at the time when it dropped, I can't remember when did the first Max Payne come out? I can't remember if Max Payne came out. I want to say Max Payne came out after it.
2000 October 17th, 2008 was the first Max Payne.
No, I thought the first Max Payne was 2001.
Oh no, I'm sorry. That was I was looking at something else. Sorry, that was the movie. I don't know why I gave you the movie.
Oh, yeah. Google will do that.
Thanks.
So Max Payne actually came out before Halo. So I mean, but still, I guess in my mind, I'm just like, Max Payne was a very short campaign. There were a lot of discussions about. I mean, it was a full price game at the time, whatever that was on PC, $40, $50. And there was a lot of discussion of like, should you be paying that much for like that shorter content? And we've had that philosophical debate, right? 99 ways till Sunday since then. But flash forward to 2026, and I'm just like, I don't like $70 is what you charge me for the entire, or $60 is what you would have charged me for the entire MCC. So like square that up for me. And I know it's Unreal Engine. I know it's Unreal Engine 5. It's there are actually 3 new missions in this that are actually prequels to Halo, which is another thing I jokingly mentioned when they mentioned that. I'm like, so you mean Reach? So, but I don't think it'll be Reach. I think they're actually doing 3 like original content things. But I'm like what I'm more excited about is my expectation is that this is the precursor to more stuff, and they will do remakes of the other Halo games. But the ones I really want to get my hands on is I would play Reach again, because I've only played that once. I would definitely play ODST. And those are the things I'm actually interested in. A lot of people are interested in getting remakes of 5, since that, if I remember correctly, has never been brought to PC. So and you and I played Halo 5 co-op campaign with DBQ and Greylock. That would be awesome, right, to kind of relive that, especially if it's like now on multiple platforms and it's crossplay. So that would just be another exciting experience. I was not as down on the Halo 5 campaign as a lot of people were, but I think what I'm most excited about is this. I think this is one that I will bypass unless, I just happen to have, unless there's a soft spot in the schedule or I feel really like compelled or obligated to like have to go play it, right, to participate in the conversation. But just at face value, I'm not super excited about this. I'm super excited. It's kind of like GTA 6. Like I could care less about GTA 6. What excites me about GTA 6 is that new technology will be put in place that can be used to make Red Dead Redemption 3, right? And that's kind of how I feel about this. Like, not really crazy about CE in UE5, but if that begets a ramp for other stuff, and for multiplayer and for like an MCC rendition. Tal, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked one of my mutuals, Infinite Umbra. It's been, by the time this game comes out, it will have been 5 years since Halo Infinite. If they are doing the MCC plus, Halo 5, which would also make it really weird, because then what do you do with Halo Infinite? Do you remake that in UE5 or what? Or is that game too recent? But if they do all that, that could take them another 3 to 5 years. So when do you think we will get the next new Halo story?
I think they said that they're working like on the newer game. I guess it might just be like the preliminary stages. But yeah, I mean that's gonna be this is next year, and then they didn't give any kind of time frame other than 2026, right, for this one. I'd say I'd probably say maybe 2028 at the earliest for like the absolute new Halo. I mean, it's possible, if they're working on it right now, it's possible 27, but I'm going to say 28 would probably be the earliest date we would get actually new game. And because we still have, did we have a Gears? There's supposed to be a Gears, right? A new Gears coming out too. Is that supposed to be next year?
Yeah, I believe E-Day is next year. Yep.
That's next year too. Okay. So, well, yeah. I'd still say 2028 then. They might have something else. I'm assuming for 27, maybe that they're planning at least for now. You never know, because those plans could change. But I'll say that for now.
Yeah, I have no idea. Like,
yeah.
I mean, my belief is that 343. My belief is that Halo Studios now, that what's prudent for them is not to be trying to parallel projects up, given the problems that they've had in the past. It feels like if you do Combat Evolved, it wouldn't make sense to me to not do everything else in the MCC. So I feel like they've got to be doing that. And like I said, it seems like that's going to take them another 3 to 5 years. Maybe they are paralleling up projects, but even then, I think it will take them like a significant amount of time to get that out. And again, it would just be weird. Like I don't. So you're introducing new players right to the Halo universe. You're giving them the MCC, and then you're going to give them like the follow on to Halo Infinite, like in the middle of all that. So it I have no idea where they're going or what they're doing with it. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think I saw another article. It wasn't in this one. They were talking to some of the developers, or maybe when the guy was announcing it, that I guess their kind of the reasoning was that they're doing this. It was more they were doing this because of obviously they're using a new engine. They're using new engine for them. They're using Unreal 5, and they kind of wanted to get their feet wet with that, along with bringing Halo. Obviously, this is them saying this, bringing Halo into the future with that, and then kind of in parallel or in conjunction, trying to get the next series. Oh, I won't say series, but the next game kind of going to with the same thing. So. Okay, I can see that, I guess. At least technology-wise, that makes sense, I suppose.
Yeah. I'm also significantly worried by the fact that this is not a entire code rewrite. They are using the UE5 stuff as essentially a wrapper around the old code. I can accept that will work for the single player game. I have a lot of concern about whether or not that's the approach they're going to take for a multiplayer thing. The Elder Scrolls Oblivion remaster, when it launched, had numerous performance problems and frame stutter and bad frame pacing. This approach doesn't give me a lot of confidence when you try and then add into that, you're going to have great, netcode and latency management and stuff. Like I worry about how that'll come off. If you're going to use that as the code base for a multiplayer, I would have way more confidence in something, coded from the ground up. So we'll have to see how that turns out as well. Moving on to our next story about PlayStation. This news story over on Eurogamer by Robert Purchase. Poor old PlayStation 3, the PS5 has just overtaken its lifetime sales in the United States. The George Foreman grill, PlayStation 3 has now been outsold by the PS5 in the US. Sony's newest machine has achieved this feat in a fraction under 5 years on sale. PS5 launched 12 November 2020. Respected Circana analyst Matt Piscatella shared the piece of trivia on Blue Sky, noting that the sales overtake had happened during September's sales period. September 2025 U.S. video game data. Fun fact: the PlayStation 5 has now surpassed the PlayStation 3 in lifetime install base, Piscatella wrote, so that's cool. He didn't share numbers, so kind of charges for that sort of thing, but did mention in replies that PS5 sales are also ahead of PS4 on a time-aligned basis in the US and have been for a very long time. PS5 is ahead of PS4 by 4.6%, he wrote. Now, I'm not absolutely certain. I think it is true that PS5 is ahead of PS4 in the United States by 4.6%, but I think globally it is actually behind by some like ridiculously small percentage, like even less than that 4.6%. Again, I don't, those numbers are in the noise to me. Like, I don't think it matters. And I think it's very impressive that even if the PS5 is anywhere along the lines of neck and neck with the PS4, you're talking about a higher price console in significantly more challenging economic times, in the midst of a pandemic where there were supply shortages. So seems good all around. And I mean, and the PS3 was never like what's remarkable about the PS3 metric sales numbers from a generational perspective is the fact that Xbox came out and had a very strong lead, not just because of the 1-year head start, but also just because of the content that they mounted up during that generation, and the fact that PlayStation 3 was hyper focused on the Blu-ray drive and a lot of whiz bang bells and whistles, and really didn't have a hyper focus on the games and IP until Kaz took over. And then kind of in the second half of the generation, right, there was much more of a strong voice track around those IP. And that generation is what gave us, The Last of Us and Uncharted and Infamous. Unfortunately, they haven't revisited Infamous or Resistance for that matter, but a lot of the things that are like the strongest things in the PlayStation IP, farm now are all things that came out of the challenge and adversity that they endured while going head to head with the 360. So, the fact that it came from behind and was able to catch up with the Xbox 360 by the end of the generation is significant. And it's and I think it's a pretty good market performance indicator if the PS5 is keeping pace. Any thoughts on this one, Tao?
No, PS5 it's what, 5 years old now, or just about 5 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty good numbers. Yeah, and like you said, yeah, PS3 kind of stumbled out of the gate, but they did it did finally kind of catch up to the 360, near the end. So, yeah, I mean, that's still good achievement. And did they mention in here it did overtake to PS4 too, or it looks like it's going to? It looks like it says it. Yeah, I think I'm assuming that. Does that mean at the same time, or is that overall for PS4?
I think the trend line indicates now is that it would achieve relatively the same lifetime sales that the PS4 did.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So next news story in our rundown over on DualShockers. By Eric Warner. Assassin's Creed Shadows. Ubisoft polishes Assassin's Creed Shadows with new parkour and story updates. It's been just over 7 months since Assassin's Creed Shadows first launched, and about 1 month since its major expansion, Claws of Awaji, first debuted. But Ubisoft is continuing to refine and update Shadows for its millions of players. On October 23rd, Shadows Associate Game Director Simon Lemay-Comtois announced that Ubisoft is far from improving the player experience in Shadows of the game. I think that what I was meant to say is far from finished improving the player experience in Shadows, and that the game will be receiving multiple free major updates this fall season. I think, one of the things that jumped out at me as I read this is I'm less concerned about it's cool. I mean, I have Assassin's Creed Shadows on PC. I'm still, playing through it. And so, the notion that, the team is still hard at work, like improving it is awesome. I give kudos to Ubisoft, it seems like every other week, for their stick-to-itiveness and how much they support games post-launch. one thing that was interesting to me is, we have a narrative in gaming social media of people who were like, Assassin's Creed and Ghost of Yotei can't exist in the same year. That you know Ghost of Yotei was coming out too late, and people would have already played Assassin's Creed, and so nobody would be interested in Ghost of Yotei. False. We have the narrative that people would be too excited about getting a Sucker Punch, PlayStation tentpole title from one of its marquee studio games this year, and so nobody would pay attention to Assassin's Creed Shadows. Again, false, incorrect, as the metrics have proven. But I think what is super interesting is I wonder, and I feel like they're putting so much effort behind Assassin's Creed because Ghost of Yotei came out, right? Because you still got to get into the Game of the Year to award season, not just when I say Game of the Year, not just the TGAs, but Golden Joystick, DICE, GDC, and BAFTA. I feel like, and I forget what game it was, but we were talking to DBQ, I think last week, and he mentioned some game that also was getting like a big, huge Expedition 33, right, is getting a big drop here. And I think these things are being done. I wonder if these things are being done, number one, to keep them, to push them back into the minds of people voting for the Game Awards, because we have this whole thing of recency bias that definitely happens. But also, I mean, so number one, that. Number two, which is also part of the reason for the TGAs and the way they work, is because we're heading into Black Friday and holiday shopping season, and people, maybe wanting to influence people to go out and spend their money on games that they missed. But also, I wonder if, like, for Assassin's Creed, this is happening, and if we're going to see more of this, like, so you release a game, but then a game of similar content or something comes out afterwards, and even though you guys aren't necessarily competing kind of in the same launch window, but you're pushing to keep Assassin's Creed relevant because Ghost of Yotei has come out, right? Or maybe to capitalize on the fact that Ghost of Yotei has come out, because maybe people play Ghost of Yotei and finish it, and they're like, man, I would really like to spend some more time in, like, medieval, like, Japan, right, with historical context and ninjas and samurai, and so again, you keep, like, putting improvements into it to keep it in people's minds and say, hey, now that I'm done playing Ghost of Yotei, I skipped Assassin's Creed. It's discounted now, so I'm going to go back and play it because it just got this huge update. Do you think that that's at all feasible?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's probably what it is. And then I would probably say more so, and I was trying to look up some stuff here too, but my internet's being weird. Probably more so for the Game of the Year stuff than, I mean, Yotai came out what, last month? This month? I can't even remember now. It's
the beginning of this
month. Okay, yeah. So, but yeah, it just makes sense that we do something like that. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to do search here and it's not working. But I guess the other thing too is that they announced that the Switch 2 version is coming out in December. So that kind of interested me.
Did they officially announce that? Because that came out as a leak and then a corroborated leak via rumor. I don't know. Has an official announcement been made?
Yeah, it's part of the roadmap now for the two upcoming, the big DLCs, which is a couple weeks in October and then the one in November. And then they also had officially announced that, it was coming out December 2nd for the Switch 2. So I'd be interested in picking it up there.
Yeah. I see that now.
To play it up.
On top of these free updates, LeMay Couture and other members of Ubisoft came back announced that Shadows will finally make its way to the Nintendo Switch 2 on Tuesday, December 2nd. With cross progression in all prior content drops and updates. Look, if I ever saw an Oscar campaign equivalent for a game to get in front of people for the TGAs, again, I don't think it's realistic for, like, an Ubisoft game to compete, like an Ubisoft kind of template game to compete at the TGAs. Except maybe in, like, the action like maybe a category. I'm sure it will get a category nomination. Almost unquestionably. So yeah, because the voting will, the cutoff for voting for nominations or voting is like mid-November ish, and then I'm pretty sure the TGAs is sometime that week, like December 6th or something like that. So I don't.
Yeah, usually the first or second week of December. Yeah.
So unless you're getting early builds to people, I don't know. I don't know that it makes a huge tangible difference. It may make a spiritual difference, right, in terms of just kind of winning hearts and minds, right, of voting members and things like that. And again, kind of keeping your earlier release title like at the forefront in people's minds.
Yeah, it should be. I want to say it should be interesting for Game of the Year this year, but I mean, I know everybody was, gaga over Expedition 33 pretty much throughout the whole year. So, but, you got the other ones like Silk Song and Hades 2 and Ghost of Yotai. It could be up there. Some other ones that have come out throughout the year that might have a chance, but I mean, I think it's probably going to be Expedition 33 pretty much for Game of the Year for most outlets. But you might have those odd ones here and there. Like I said, might have Silk Song and Hades and possibly Split Fiction too. That's been a big one. Pretty much throughout since it's come out. But yeah, it should be interesting.
Yeah, I mean I would generally feel that way, but I want to say the golden joysticks didn't. I want to say weren't nominations already had for the golden joysticks in Expedition? The Coveted Award. So Ultimate Game of the Year takes place in a separate voting window from 3 to 7 November. Find more details on that below. Look out for the confirmed. You go to shortlist on 3 November. So the lists aren't out yet. Shortlist announced, public voting open. Public voting closes on 31 October. So I guess I can't remember exactly how the golden joysticks work, but I guess whatever. I guess the books aren't closed yet on whether or not Expedition 33 is getting nominated. Or what? Yeah, I thought there were public votes, but I can't see where that is on the site. But okay, yeah. Like you said, I don't know exactly where Assassin's Creed Shadows is gonna wind up. I would suspect, like I said, at least it'll get up there for Action Game of the Year or something like that. All right, Sal, anything else you want to cover on that news story?
Nope.
All right. Well, let's head on to segment 3 and wrap things up with the other games that we have been playing. I'll start off, and I won't talk about much of any length. But over on the Steam Deck OLED and on PC, I have been playing separate campaigns of Fallout 4. So on the Steam Deck, I had a copy of Fallout 4, but there was, but on PC, I'm also playing on a copy from GOG. They had a sale recently, and I think Fallout 4 over there was like $1.50 or something like that. So I just decided to throw some money Xbox's way and pick up an extra copy. Yeah, Fallout 4 is just one of those games that, across all of the Fallout games, and I know there's buzz now, a lot of these games got graphical touch-ups and stuff last year, kind of in the wake of the Fallout television series doing well. Recently announced was I think a Fallout 4 or maybe Fallout New Vegas like merch bundle where you pay for it, and what you get is you get the Ultimate Edition, which was released last year, which is the game with a bunch of kind of curated DLC that has been made by modders, and then you get a bunch of merch along with it. And I believe there's an announcement of a Fallout 4 remaster coming out next year. So I think this is a game that's kind of getting the. Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's an anniversary edition. Yeah, it's coming out. Fallout 4 coming out next year. Also, will be on the Switch too, so that's nice.
Yeah, very nice. It'd be awesome to have that in handheld. And I guess this is a game. So it's basically that is basically a game that's getting the Elder Scrolls Oblivion kind of level of treatment. But I've just been playing the Ultimate Editions that were touched up last year, and of all those games, Fallout 4 is the one of all the Fallout games. Fallout 4 is the one that to me has stood up really well over time. It's still arguably a good looking game. So it's one that should lend itself very well to graphical upgrades to coming off looking even better. There are lots of people who don't like the VATS system. I actually do. I especially like kind of the little cutscenes, mini cutscenes, mini scene transitions or whatever of you kind of going into VATS mode and then coming back out of it. Sometimes that wreaks havoc with the camera, depending on what was the last position of the camera when you hit VATS. So there's that. But overall, I enjoy it, and Fallout 4 is still one of those that where I feel like the world and the story that unfolds feels good. Like there's a lot of games that are kind of world building and trying to do the same thing, and they just don't come off as substantive as Fallout 4 does still to this day. So I really like it and am enjoying it, and plays really well on Steam Deck as well. Tao, the last time we talked about this game, it was under adversity. So have things turned around, and are they looking up for it?
Yeah, so played some Marvel Rivals this past weekend, actually, and I had mentioned this mode last week as one of my news stories, was the Marvel Zombies mode that they put in there. Kind of just a wave-based mode. I don't want to say Left 4 Dead. It's, I guess, kind of Left 4 Dead. You go into an area with the wave of zombies come in, and then you clear those, and you kind of move on throughout the level. And then there's like 2 bosses basically that you have to fight along the way. The last one being the Scarlet Witch zombie mode, or zombified Scarlet Witch, the Queen of the Dead, as she's called in this game, and in the animated series too, I believe. So it's actually pretty fun. My one friend had hit me up about playing this. I was like, sure, I'll give it a try. And that's all we played. We didn't even play like the regular, kind of just Marvel Rivals, hero shooter mode. We're just playing that. It's pretty fun. Before you jump in there, you can pick a few different things there's 5 characters. I'm trying to remember. There's Thor, there's Blade, Jeff the Landshark, Magic, and I think that might be it. Actually, there might be one more I think of right now, but Punisher, that was the other one. So you can go in there and individually into each person and kind of set up their kind of like loadout of sorts. So you can you have your normal like abilities that you have like in the game, but underneath those abilities, you can kind of tweak it a little. There's like 3 different options for each ability. And for your ultimate too, that you can do normally throughout the game, given some kind of boosts for defense or, attack or something like that. And then when you're playing in between each round or in between each section, after you clear a section, there's these cards that come up that you can kind of pick from and then kind of once again give you additional boosts or whatnot, depending on how you want to kind of spec your character. So, it's pretty interesting. I had a lot of fun with it. I don't know how long this is going to run. I'm assuming just until Halloween's over. Probably, after this coming week, it's probably going to go away. I'm assuming, but it was pretty fun. We're having a good time with it. We had one other friend too that we had jumped into with, and I think it's only 4. So we just had like another random person that had joined us along the way. So I'm pretty sure it's only 4-player max, but pretty fun mode overall. And I think you can, you kind of pop some rewards here, and they're just customization rewards, either for your title or I think there's one skin you get like if you max out everything. I think for Blade, because he was one of the newer heroes that they introduced last season, not this season. So you do get some rewards from this, but once again, man, just going through that title screen, it's like, man, it's kind of such a mobile game now. Like there's just all kinds of things that pop up, and there's just this quest for the the zombie mode, but then there's like at least 3 other quests that you can do for just various either some of the other modes or just the regular hero shooter mode, and it's just like, man, it's just like way too busy. It's just, I don't know, it kind of kind of ticks me off sometimes. It's like there's just too much, and even at the end of the round, like even at the end of the round for the zombie mode, there's just all kinds of stuff like popping up, like okay, you did, there's just, you did this many, you killed this many zombies, and you use this kind of, spec, so you get the, this additional extra points for this and stuff, and it's just like I just want to play the game, man. Like just get me in there. But there's still that part of it. But I really did have a lot of fun with the zombie mode. So I will give them some positive feedback. They do kind of throw out different modes like this. Like this is their first. I think I mentioned this last week too. This is their first co-op mode that they've done. So some of the other modes they've done have always just been still competitive stuff, but it's kind of the first co-op mode. So it's actually kind of interesting and kind of pretty well put together, although as we kind of went up the difficulty levels, because you just start like easy, medium, hard, and then there's like nightmare or extreme, and then nightmare I think is like the last one, which we're trying to do near the end, and it was it was like super hard obviously, but there's a difference in between each level. So at least there's that too. They kind of balanced that out pretty well. So but yeah, I had a pretty good time with it. It was pretty cool. And then any other questions on that? If not, I will jump into the next one real quick. I jump back to the No Man's Sky. They had another update. Excuse me. This past week, the Breach update, which is I guess kind of their Halloween update that they did. So they actually put out a new expedition. And I've been playing this on the Switch too, because they finally got up to close enough. They went like 6.5. 1 or 2 or something on the version. I think it was 6.5. I think 6.51 is the newest one for Nintendo Switch. They actually went up to 2, I think, on the PC and the other consoles. But the Switch, you can actually now use your cross save, and I was able to play my like PC and Xbox save that I've been playing for a little bit now on the Switch too, because it's just about to parity now with the other the versions. So, which was actually really nice because I'm like way far into those other versions. I actually beat the main campaign, which once you beat the main campaign, it opens up like the super giant planets that you can visit. And then all these other water worlds, which are like super deep oceans, like super, super deep oceans you can go into. So I wanted to kind of jump into those with all the new Corvette stuff and all that other stuff. So it was kind of nice. I can jump into that old save. And then they also released some more Corvette parts that you can find and obviously put together for your Corvette. I think I don't know if there's some Atlas inspired pieces. I think those might be tied to the expedition, so you have to go through that expedition to get those pieces. And then once you unlock them, I think you can start finding them in your world, your normal world. So there's that. And then of course they had like a ton of bug fixes and stuff. And then the other thing too is now you can. So now with the Corvette parts, you can either, I think there's 2 ways. There's one where you can find them on the planets. So there's like a salvageable, if you look at the planet info, there's like a salvageable scrap option in there, or like thing that you can find. So that's the Corvette parts. And then I'm trying to think, there was one other way. I forgot the other way that you can do. You can actually find the pieces, but I usually just go into the planet because it's like the easier thing to do. But now there's actually derelict Corvettes that you can find out in space, which I haven't hit that. I don't know if there's like a storyline that pops up that lets you do that or yet, because I haven't seen that yet within the game, and I can't. That's the one thing on Nintendo Switch too. The expedition is actually not live yet on there, even though it looked like it was at first. But then by the time I went in there to play, like I couldn't trigger it yet. So I don't know. There must have been an issue in the background that maybe they stopped it for now. But hopefully they can get that going again. But yeah, you can find these derelict Corvettes in space, and then kind of basically just use your multi-tool and carve them up and salvage them for parts for your Corvette too. So that's pretty nice too. So that's cool. So like just when I thought I was not going to play that anymore, at least for a little bit, just because I had been playing it for a lot since the summer basically. It's like, all right, I can play something else now. I'm playing Pokemon, and I still want to jump back into Battlefield 6 and play a little bit more of that. And there's a couple of games here we'll talk about here at the end of the show with stuff coming out that I want to play. So it's like, oh man, now No Man's Sky is like pulling me back in. Like, like I just thought I was done with it. And then I guess some of the new parts too, like you can kind of fiddle with some of the parts to kind of do them vertically, to kind of build up a vertical ship, which I've seen some pretty cool ones like that. But you had to like really like finagle these parts to do that, and sometimes even glitch them to make them fit. But now they actually have like stackable like vertical parts that you can use on these Corvette ships. So I think a lot of people were asking about. So that's pretty nice too. So yeah, jumping back into No Man's Sky again. So and it's a good time though. It's kind of like my new Minecraft, where like Minecraft was my kind of go to. Like I just want to chill and play a game, just kind of chill. This is kind of that now. I can just fly around. If I want to work on my base a little, I can do that, or just like grind to get some money or parts or stuff. I can do that too. And I'm actually, like I said before, I was never really a builder and stuff like that before, but I do enjoy the ship building in this one. It's pretty cool. So I've been having a lot of fun with it.
Okay, very cool. We will go on to my last game, which has seen me revisiting Resident Evil 4, because I just had delivered the new MacBook Pro M5 this week. A couple of weeks ago, Apple made an announcement for the new iPad Pro and the MacBook Pro using its newest chip, the M5. And so I had recently played Resident Evil 4 on the Mac Mini M4, taking some benchmarks. That's what you see here. And you can see that the game is running at about 60 frames per second, just slightly north of that on average, usually around 62. And you can see, as you just saw there, I would occasionally get some spikes up to like 75 frames per second, but generally I was running kind of between 58 and 62 frames per second. Now that was on an ultra widescreen monitor, although Resident Evil 4 doesn't support ultra widescreen. So as you see there, the target I was trying to hit was 2560 by 1080. It's rendering the game at 1280 by 540p and upscaling. But at any rate, the main point is that this is a game that is serviceable on an M4, getting you around 60 frames per second with tweaks, right, to go in and get the game to run. On the MacBook Pro M5, which I had an opportunity to bench later this week, the rumors were that the most significant thing about the M5 were not its CPU improvements, but the improvements that it made in GPU. And I'll just say, yes, that is hands down, absolutely slobber-knockingly true. Running the same game at 2560 by 1440p, I was getting frame rates at 120 frames per second using the same graphical settings. So the M5 is a viable gaming laptop. Not a primary gaming laptop, but like if you need that device for creative tasks, like Photoshop and Premiere Pro, if you're a content creator. But when you're on the go, you also want to play some games that are well-known and popular games and expect them to be performant. The MacBook Pro with the M5 is finally there. The M4 would run like things like Civ 7 at like 30 frames per second, and I'm like, no, like we're not doing that. But it seems like an entirely different tale of the tape with the MacBook Pro M5. I grabbed Resident Evil because it's kind of a weird setup in the Mac OS App Store. The game is free to download, and it lets you play for a certain amount of time before you have to pay to unlock the game. So yeah, the game will let you play up right through, for people who are familiar with Resident Evil 4, will let you play up through this segment, which is you finally getting to the first village, and then you holding off the village until a couple mini bosses come out, and then if you're able to take them down, then kind of the bell starts ringing and everybody goes into the church. So this is about kind of the first 30 minutes to hour of the game, and so like I said, it's a it almost treats it like an early access or free to play title, and lets you play some before it paywalls it. I grabbed it because I had seen somewhere that apparently at some point the full version was on sale for like $10, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's a no-brainer. But apparently that sale is over, and it's a $60 game now again on the Mac, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. Although the Resident Evil 4 remake was just last year, I think. So but yeah, it was a good week of testing those things out, and the onboard metal analytics, which you see running there in the upper right hand corner of the video, is something that is baked in to Mac OS. You just have to go into the terminal command and enter a Unix command, Unix/Linux command on the command line to call it up. But it's an easy thing to find if you just Google for it. You can copy and paste it right into the terminal window, hit enter, and then when you start a game, it brings up that window, which is more robust than most of your in-house stuff that you can get from. Well, NVIDIA gives you, a ton of analytics as well. But the way it runs those analytics, it like occludes like the left-hand side of your screen, and then other than that, it's like you can get frames per second, but like the consistency and reliability of the frames per second isn't great. And Afterburner tends to do a better job, right? So you're going off campus, right, to go find like a third-party solution when you're on a Windows PC. But these analytics that you're seeing here, which I think what's also awesome is with Unreal Engine games, what's become much more important in this day and age is not raw frame rate, but it's frame pacing, because you can be getting 120 frames per second, but your frame pacing can be horrible, and it makes the game appear like it's performing badly. And so it's nice that the metal analytics here in macOS give you that readout. Do you have anything else on that you want to go over? Okay, well, let's go ahead and go on to our very, very final section, which is what are the new games coming out next week. Next week is kind of a bumper crop. It's not as bonga as as October, with all the things that were delivered that were kind of spread throughout the month. I think this is one major drop for the final week of October. It's coming. We've got The Outer Worlds 2 coming out on October 29th on PS5, Xbox, and PC. We've got Arc Raiders coming out on October 30th on PS5, Xbox, and PC. We've got Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake coming out on October 30th on the PS5, Switch 2, Xbox, and PC. You also have Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection coming out on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch 2, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. That comes out on October 30th. And then also on October 30th, you have Virtua Fighter 5 Revo World Stage coming out on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series S and X. Any of those sound like something you're going to be picking up, Tal?
I'm definitely interested in Virtua Fighter 5, probably eventually. I probably won't pick that up right away. But then definitely Arc Raiders I'm looking forward to. So that was kind of the big one for me coming out. So that extraction shooter. So there's a couple of tests recently within this year at least. So one over the summer, and then they just had one last weekend, I believe, the weekend before. So I'm really excited for that one.
Very cool. I have had The Outer Worlds 2 on my radar. Word on the street is that it's got performance problems on the PS5/PS5 Pro version, so I'm kind of holding off until we get it in next week to see exactly what is with that. Hero Dad mentions, I think I'll try it out on my M4 Mac Mini. And then also says, just see what the game feels like on a Mac. The Real Nate mentions it happens to be one of the few games Apple promotes. And Hero mentions he's installing it now. Yeah, on my M5 Hero, the performance that I saw out of Resident Evil was enough that I played for a few minutes and then closed it and uninstalled it, and then went into my Steam library and I'm kind of looking at the games that I have that are Mac compatible, and I know I installed Civilization 6 and Pillars of Eternity 2. I haven't necessarily gone after anything that was like performant, right? But I just wanted to kind of get some games on there that I was interested in playing. Since we've got some extra time, Tal, and we kind of talked about it a little bit, I did find it curious because I wanted to pull the thread on and we can talk a little bit about the golden joysticks. So fortunately, Expedition 33 was not being snubbed. Again, I was trying to remember, like, how does that whole thing go again? But the organizers of the 2025 Golden Joystick Awards have revealed a short list of titles for this year's awards, and perhaps unsurprisingly, Clear Obscure Expedition 33 leads the pack with 6 nominations, including Best Storytelling Soundtrack and Lead and Supporting Performers. Gamers can now submit their votes across 21 categories for this year's Golden Joystick Awards, which will be held in central London and live streamed globally on November 20th. Following Expedition 33 with 4 nominations apiece are Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and at the time this article was written, this week's newest arrival, Ghost of Yotei, which sneaks into the list just after its release, like Alan Wake 2 in 2023 and Dragon Age The Veilguard in 2024. It's not all big dogs in the running. Hollow Knight, Silk Song, Sword of the Sea, and Peak all take multiple nominations, while other beloved indies like Despolote, Spilled, Consume Me, and Blueprint, rightly get their moments in the sun. Last November's Golden Joystick Award saw Black Myth Wukong win Ultimate Game of the Year from a huge public vote, though Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Helldivers 2 walked away with the most gongs, each taking 4 home. Balatro proved to be the indie darling of the year, taking 2 trophies, even though it was by far the best indie game of 2024 and arguably the most enjoyable outright. This news story is over on is on Forbes, by the way, by Matt Gardner. But I did think, as I was looking at this list, I think this list is super interesting as well. Last bit about the rules and the voting process. You'll still have to wait a little longer to vote for your outright GOTY. The 43rd annual Joysticks Ultimate Game of the Year shortlist is announced on November 3rd, with voting opening the same day. Still, you can pick your console and PC games of the year right now. You can get your choices in before 8 p.m. Eastern time on October 31st. So these are the games that are in the categories. On PC Game of the Year, you've got Silk Song, The Altars, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Peak, Abiotic Factor, and Dune. Console Game of the Year is DK Bonanza, Monster Hunter Wilds, Ghost of Yotei, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Sonic Racing, Cross Worlds, and Mario Kart World. So these are except for Monster Hunter Wilds. I don't know what platform Sonic Racing is on. The point I was going to make is, first of all, these are predominantly Nintendo and PlayStation titles, and they are predominantly exclusives as well.
I think Sonic's on everything. I think. Let me look it up real quick while you talk.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no Monster Hunter Wilds is, but basically it's a nomination category of 4 out of 6 exclusives, which I find interesting given the dialogue of this year. Oh wait, that's not the entire list. Oh no, that is. It's 6 nominees. Okay, best multiplayer game: Battlefield 6, Peak, Elden Ring, Night Rain, Split Fiction, Mario Kart World, and Rematch. Best indie game. I've been talking about how crowded the indie award season is going to be. You've got Blueprints, Citizen Sleeper 2, Starward Vector, Wander Stop, Skin Deep, Despolote, Hurdling, Abiotic Factor, Baby Steps, Caves of Quad, Deep Star Galactic. I'm surprised Absalom isn't on this list, and so maybe there was a cutoff for nominees before it came out. Best indie game published. I don't want to go over those. Best remake or remaster: Metal Gear Solid Delta, Snake Eater, Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered, Trails in the Sky First Chapter, The Talos Principle Reawakened, Gears of War Reloaded, and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. That was very tough for me to predict who's going to get the nod for that. Or who people are going to vote for the most. I'm guessing not Metal Gear Solid Delta, because that game had performance problems. Elder Scrolls 2 also had performance problems. I don't remember if I heard Trails in the Sky had performance problems. I'm not sure, but out of these, it seems like Gears of War Reloaded or Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 would be the ones that would wind up having the most people who have played them. So, I don't know. Studio of the Year, Team Cherry, Sandfall Interactive, Sandfall, obviously, Expedition 33, Aggro Crab and Landfall, Bloober Team with its Silent Hill title, Slow Clap and Rebellion. I'm not going to read the expansion. Nothing really significant in storytelling. Best visual design. Here's where Assassin's Creed finally shows up. Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Clair Obscur, The Midnight Walk, Ghost of Yotei, Sword of the Sea, and Assassin's Creed Shadows. Best audio design. Again, nothing there really standing out. Best soundtrack. Lead performer. I thought this was interesting. Jennifer English, Troy Baker, Tom McKay, Alex Jordan, Erika Ishii, and Adrian Ray. What I thought was interesting was best supporting performer. We have Troy Baker, Jim High, Ben Starr, Lucy Griffiths, Logan Cunningham, and Mario Gavrilis. I find it very surprising that Gustav is not on this list on best supporting performer, who was voiced by Charlie Cox. I like seeing Ben Starr on the list, but I really don't. If Charlie Cox was also on this list, I wonder what that dynamic would be between people voting for that character. Choosing between that character and Verso. Early access game. We're still playing. Best gaming hardware. Nintendo Switch 2, the Pro Controller, Western Digital Black SN 8100 NVMe SSD. I think this got nominated because at a certain point, that became like I think there were periods during the year where like this was the only like name brand SSD to buy if you were looking to expand your PS5 storage. I think you would see other PS5 compatible SSDs on the market, but they would be ones like without heat sinks. They would be ones which would be like no name brand recognition, right? So I think that's why that stands out. Elgato Facecam 4K, which just recently came out. Razer Blade 16, I assume it's a 16-inch laptop, but I haven't heard anything about it. And the 9950X 3D, while that's a significant chip, I doubt that many people have them. Like I have the 7950 X3D, but like I'm like the only person I know, amongst my PC gaming friends who has that chip. And best game adaptation, nothing really stuck out at me here. Best game trailer. Yeah, it was nice to see The Expanse up here because I think it had absolutely one of the most incredible game trailers from the Summer Game Fest round of shows. Most Wanted, nothing really major there. Anything out of any of those lists that really jump out at you, Tao, or really seems like a grotesque omission in a category, or a game making it into a category that you didn't expect?
And just before I answer that, Sonic is pretty much on everything, all consoles and PC. So,
okay, gotcha.
For PC game of the year, I'm kind of interested in the Alters was on there. Like I knew that was like had a bunch of critical acclaim like leading up to it, but then afterwards it was kind of like, I kind of died off like pretty quick for that game. I mean, I still heard fairly good things about it, but I can't remember if there was performance issues or something. There was something with that game. I think that kind of turned people off afterwards.
I have it on PC. It was very performant for me across. I tested it across multiple hardware sets, so I didn't have any problem. I don't remember there being a problem in the zeitgeist. I think my impression is that not everybody was super interested in it. It's a procedural drama, right? And it's very heavily based on like part of what moves the needle is the one dude playing like. I mean, let me go back to that. I don't know who the actor is who plays the lead guy in The Alters. He should absolutely get this award. It shouldn't even be voted on. Like the dude plays like 14 different people right in the course of the game, and does performances that makes them feel as if they're distinct, right? Even when he's playing versions that don't have a lot of difference from his base character, but the very small nuances and inflections that he gives that gives credence to like this one little thing, this one tiny thing that is different between them, I think is amazing. But yeah, I think the problem was it's a very it's a very kind of cerebral game. Like I said, like very much like a procedural drama, and I think that's why not a lot of people. There wasn't a lot of buzz around it, and not a lot of conversation to be had much about the game outside of its launch window. Anything else, Tal, that you saw in here that seemed way wackadoodle out of place, or
No, not really. When you were kind of going through the list, I didn't really see anything too out of place, other than that one. Yeah, it was interesting. Like you mentioned before, there was no Absalon on here at all, so maybe that was kind of because that just came out last week or 2 weeks ago, so maybe that didn't hit the cutoff in time. So that was a big to do on that one.
So, Tal, the last thing I want to ask before we get out of here is Battlefield 6 multiplayer official announcement this week. How are you feeling about that? Or is it something you plan on jumping in on?
I'm gonna try because there's Arc Raiders is coming out this week, so I don't know if I'll have the time for that one. But I think the big rumor on that one too is it looks like it sounds like they're going to drop their Battle Royale mode too with that update coming out. So it'd be interesting to play that. I didn't play. I don't know if it was in the last one, but I know the one before. I think in 5 they had some kind of Battle Royale game. I never had a chance to play it because I didn't buy that one. But
I thought I
didn't hear.
That's what I meant to say. I don't remember what I said. What I meant to say was the official announcement for its Battle Royale.
Oh yeah.
This week I think is actually when it's
because I think it coincides with the season one drop. So yeah, I'm going to try to get into it, but we'll see if I'm able to. I'd really be interested to see, since I never played the other one, just to see how their Battle Royale is, how it turns out.
Yep, should definitely be interesting. For everybody who came through the chat, we appreciate you. Hero Down Under, the Real Innate, Retro, Ghostface Killer. We appreciate you guys swinging through and stopping by. So that's going to be a wrap for us. We will be back here, same bat time, same bat channel next week with DBQ, Hams in the driver's seat, and Tao and I backing him up as co-pilots. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Stay safe out there. Play the games that you like. Come here to talk to us about the games that you love. Once again, my name has been Game Logic from the Rounding Off Infinity Gaming channel on YouTube. One of the co-hosts here on the Enough to Keep Going weekly multi-platform video games podcast. My co-host has been Taomaster99. Until next time, good night, good luck, and good gaming. That's going to do it for us. We're out of here.